You want to just let him go?
He says he was sleepwalking.
Up 6 flights of stairs.
Hey, I've done push-ups in my sleep. Come on, Mandy, the freaks come out at night. You called the police to handle this. This is me handling it. Mr. Finn's never done anything like this before. Dr. Cabrera is a respected faculty member. She'd never do anything to bring trouble to this school, either with her brother, right?
Not intentionally, no.
You know what? He's your problem.
I promise you this isn't what it looks like, okay? I was sleepwalking, but I am sorry that it happened at your work.
I don't care about that. Kevin, when was the last time you talked to Dr. Sloan? I know he's left you a few messages.
I'll call him. I'll call him today.
Yeah, well, I want you to talk to someone here in town, okay? Dr. Elizabeth Salentine, she's a counselor here on campus. She's a friend of mine, and I bet you that she will even be able to squeeze you in later today.
Well, today, yeah, I'm busy. I'm very busy. Plus, I don't really.
Kevin, this is really important to me, okay? I'm scared.
Okay, all right, I'll go. For a price. Can you find and purchase some pants for me?
Hey!
Hi!
Thanks so much for being here.
I love having a mic.
You like
Am I learning how to talk into a mic now?
Yeah, it gives you a lot more to do.
It does.
during the
I feel like
right?
I will fidget less.
You can kind of do it like a singer too, and you can
Yeah.
answer and kind of like
Hello.
come in. Talk to me about Kevin Probably Saves the World. I love this show. There's nothing else like it on television right now. It's so weird and funny, but also just idiosyncratic, and there's really nothing else like it. What did you think when you first got the script?
When I first read the script, I initially thought, this is so unusual. It had been a long time since I'd read anything that, well, I honestly, having 2 very small children, I hadn't considered taking on a network drama just because the workload is so intense. And I had, at the time when I read the script, I had, a 8-month-old. And so I thought, oh God, this is gonna be tough. But then I thought, oh my gosh, and I started to turn the page, and I just was taken by this sense of humanity that was involved. And shortly after I had read the script, I heard that Jason was cast. And I thought, oh gosh, I mean, just literally, you hear a lot of things about a lot of people in the business, and I had never heard anything but wonderful things about this human. And so
He is really one of the, when he comes in here, he's
so
like one of the sweetest people in the world.
yeah, he really is special. And this was such a unique show. And I mean, there was a lot of elements. I mean, there's this sort of warrior from God, and he's saving the world. And so on a certain level, it's kind of high concept, which is something that I don't normally get approached to do. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. And my character is like a weapons specialist, and I got to ride in a helicopter in the middle of the night. And I thought, these are all things that I'd like to check off my bucket list.
That's what I love about the show, though, is that it's so high concept for a network comedy.
And it's so hard to describe in one sentence or 2 sentences.
Right.
I describe it thematically. It's a story about redemption. It's a story about forgiveness. It's a story about hitting rock bottom and reconnecting with your family. It's a story about, I think it just promotes kindness and how simple it is to make a difference in someone's life. And so I loved that. And I didn't ask a ton of questions about Amy in particular when I spoke to our producers when we were, talking about doing the show. I just really wanted to know the world and all of the characters. And it just has grown into this. When we were on the set, I felt this sense of warmth, this sense of like fullness. And I said, if we can capture this on screen, I feel like people are going to connect to it.
Is that a rarity that you feel that on a show?
I definitely think it's a rarity. I was very lucky early in my career to do a show called Reba for 6 years. And that was family. I mean, Reba was a bridesmaid at my wedding. My dad on the show married my husband and myself. Barbara Jean, another character, she was a bridesmaid. Like, we are so close. And I knew that was special, but I didn't know how rare it was. And I feel that again. I feel that sense of connectivity, that sense of we all really believe that we're doing something special and unique. And, it's not the sexiest show in the world, although you do have Jason Ritter in his boxer shorts like almost in every episode. Poor guy. He's such a good sport. But he's game for anything. That's why I love him.
Now the show shoots in Atlanta, and you said that when you got the script, you had an 8-month-old, and are you in this position where it's like they're at a young enough age where you can kind of just pick them up and take them with you to Atlanta, kind of thing?
Well, I have a 4-year-old too, and so she's kind of getting to an age where she's starting to notice those things. But my husband just retired from being a baseball player, and so we are kind of used to this sort of gypsy lifestyle and kind of pick up and move. We do it really well. I'm like, we should just get a covered wagon and just haul it with us. We kind of did, actually. This time we rented a U-Haul.
Maybe teach the kids how to play instruments, and you could be like a traveling family band.
We could make some side dough. So the baby doesn't really, she's just kind of along for the ride. But I do thank my 4-year-old. I know that sounds really corny, but I've become very sentimental in my old age. But I thank her.
Who doesn't?
As
soon as you,
I could cry right now.
Well, it's like a weird thing that
when
happens.
you guys clap,
right?
I'm like, they're so nice.
I found that I got far more sentimental. I'm engaged, and I found I got far more sentimental when I met like the person that I was going to get engaged. Suddenly, like things shifted in the world, and maybe it's like the frontal cortex in your brain develops at like 29, and that happens.
Yes.
But I just started to notice that like, oh, kids. I'm like, oh, I love these kids. I want them.
I think you start to realize, that not that there is an end, because I don't want to sound morbid at all, but like there's a story. There's a story, and you're like, these are the moments. These are the someone told me a long time ago that the days are long but the years are short, and so it can kind of depress you in a way. But then in other ways, it's like, well, life's too short. And I feel like with this show, it just
good pullback,
feels, right? Such an old pro, just like an old puppy dog. But I do feel like with this show, it does have that sense of like, I didn't know what it was going to be, and I didn't know if someone said the other day, you're not on a water cooler show. You're on a show that like kind of nestles in people's hearts, and I kind of am okay with that.
It could be a water cooler. I mean, there are moments that are sort of like that are wild and crazy.
No, and I'm happy for it to be a water cooler show, but I also am like, I'm okay with people living. That's why I love television. I love doing TV because of that sense of, settling in and making a little home for yourself.
Things grow over the course of time for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like an immediate kind of thing.
Exactly. There's no real beginning to end. It's a slice of life.
Yeah. You've been acting since you were a kid, right?
Yes.
How has the craft changed for you over the course of, your career acting?
I think I've learned so much, obviously, over the years. Before it was, a lot of fun. Now I understand that there's like a business attached to it, which I actually really enjoy. The other day I asked one of my producers, I was like, can I go on a tech scout? He's like, why would you want to go on a tech scout? I was like, well, I kind of would be interested to like shadow the director and the, production designer and be like, are you going to paint that wall blue? Maybe we should paint the wall blue. And, because as an actor, you show up at a location and it's like, we've created a diner here in this like warehouse and this is interesting. But there's a whole, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. So I would like to learn that.
It also gives you a bit more, cachet might be the wrong word, but cachet with the crew and your directors and stuff, if you are a bit more aware of all of the work that has been put into the surroundings before you step in there. So you don't become the actor who steps on set and goes, I don't know about this, guys.
Yeah. Is this paint toxic?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have asked. I'm like, I feel like I'm dying, like, just like slowly dying here.
You could have asked that 3 days ago when we started painting it.
Totally, exactly.
Do you have interest in directing? I
do. I actually write a lot. And I really don't let a lot of people read my writing because I don't have a ton of confidence in it. But I do. I have a lot of stories, ideas, and I enjoy the idea of creating it. But I'm also in school right now for interior design, so it's taking up...
You're in school right now?
Yeah. I'm an online student. Yeah, I submitted my first project, and I told my husband, I was like, I have never felt more vulnerable in my life. Like, what if I get a bad grade? But I did okay.
Did you end up...
9 out of 10.
Did you go to acting school or anything? Or
No.
did you just that was your career at an early age? You graduated from high school and just kept acting and
Yeah, I never went to acting school. And there have been times in my career where I felt really insecure about that because I feel like I don't necessarily subscribe to a method, or when people talk about like, focus and intention and all of this kind of stuff, for me, it's all very real and organic. And I mean, I don't know if that makes me sound like I'm trying to like imagine myself to be super talented or just like very ill prepared.
Well, the best practice is just getting comfortable in front of the camera or in front of an audience. Like once
and working
you
with
sort of,
great actors.
Yeah, and once you sort of have that level of comfort, then you can play and you can feel natural, you know?
Yes, and that's how it has to, it always has to come from a very organic space. Not that I necessarily, I mean, I played a mermaid. I don't know what it's like to be a mermaid, but, you know, I can kind of make believe, but there has to be something that grounds everything that I do, or else it, especially being, you know, having spent a lot of time in my career in comedy, because I feel like I'm not opposed to looking really ugly for a joke, but I have to feel connected to it on some, it's got to feel real in some way to kind of make the turn.
What was your interior design project? I saw you trying to go back to
No,
this. We're
no,
not
no,
doing
no.
that.
No, I was actually just going off in my head. I had to basically create 3 different spaces and explain the how it applied to the design principles and elements, because there are specific principles to design and specific elements to design. So I created like a cozy space, I created a very formal space, I created an eclectic space, and what was interesting is that my bucket list is to own a textile line and, you know, create textiles, because I feel like that's how a space comes alive. So we're really getting deep here.
No, I love this.
I know. I told very few people about this.
I have 2 questions about this. The first one is a dunderhead question, which is define textiles for me, because when I think of textiles, I think of tiles, but it's also like carpets
Fabrics
and stuff.
and
rugs,
wallpaper,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is a great beginner book that you have picked up for interior design that at least teaches you the basics, the fundamentals, because you're talking about you have to design 3 separate rooms.
Yeah.
So obviously there's fundamentals about those rooms that you have to know.
Well, I think a lot of like design principles and elements are very obvious. It's like, you know, shape, you know, like creating symmetry or not creating symmetry within a space, and you know, but in terms of literature that I use, I'm incredibly inspired by designers. So for instance, like Kelly Wearstler, I find she uses such rich colors and textures and all of these things. So I find her work to be so interesting, and it's very rich and like meaty, but it's always so interesting and a little offbeat. So I have my like style crushes, and she is one of them. She's probably my biggest one.
What led you to this? Was there a feeling of after having acted for so long, that now you have this career and it's like, oh, I need something else as well? Like not necessarily as like a financial thing, but just as a way to
no, I certainly have never made any money off of this. I've only spent money off of it.
But a way to feel satisfied and fulfilled.
Yeah. I think that I had a friend work for Rachel Ashwell, like, you know, a million years ago when she got sort of the shabby chic, and she was really talented. And I learned a lot in that, like just by being friends with her. And I was like, well, my space is very important to me. And then as I became more grown up and had, you know, homes that I was creating with Nick and all of those different types of things, and then a nursery, and it just sort of evolved into a passion. And literally all I follow on Instagram is like my friends and like furniture companies.
Really?
Yes.
I use Pinterest.
I love Pinterest.
Pinterest gets knocked a lot. Pinterest is pretty dope.
Wait, why does Pinterest get knocked a lot?
I think because when it first started becoming really successful, it seemed like the sort of mommy blogger hangout.
Oh,
but it's
God,
actually
I love
like
every bit of it.
amazing. I have to build shelves later today, and like I'm using a Pinterest photo as as a tool for building these little shelves that I have to make.
I love that. I would like to see how those turn out.
Oh, I've built some other shelves. I'll show you when this interview's over.
Okay, good.
Those I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
We'll see how these come out.
So I just introduced my husband to Pinterest, and my husband is, he's like an enigma. He's an athlete, he's like a big old jock, but he's also very artistic. So he just got on Pinterest, and now he's like, I found like 75 ways to use PVC pipe. And I'm like, what? He's created like a dip bar. He wants to do our entire playroom in Los Angeles. And I was like, there's no chance that's happening. Like, I don't think there's going to be one piece of PVC pipe. And
in the playroom, I don't know.
Pretty sure that's not happening. But he's like, I don't understand why I can't. I was like, but you have the garage to do all these fun things.
I love PVC pipe shelves. I mean, that's not what I built because it doesn't fit with the space.
He did
like
not do
industrial shelves with
yes,
PVC
I
pipe
do.
all around.
I actually do like
you
that
use them
too.
as book stops. It's really
also
beautiful.
not going to be in my playroom though.
No.
But
I don't think you want PVC pipe.
I don't want
that
PVC
a kid could fall into or like.
He literally is like throwing a tantrum. He's like, "What part of this home is going to be mine?" I was like, I don't know. Like you have your own bathroom.
Home for him equals PVC pipe.
But legitimately, the one friend he's made outside of
it's a PVC pipe that he carries around.
Is the lady at Lowe's, the only one that's willing to talk to him. Everyone else is like, oh, this guy doesn't even know how to saw. And the lady at Lowe's is like, I believe in your passion. So
I had a guy like that with Lowe's and me.
they can really make you feel bad, huh? But then when the ones
They can. They are not. No offense to Lowe's.
No.
But like, you guys need some better customer service at times.
just like we're just sensitive people who want to learn to build things.
There's a reason a lot of people don't go to Lowe's because they don't want to be treated like that when they're learning.
Because most people come into Lowe's and then I'm like, do you have like a garbage can section? Oh, aisle 7. I guess
I'm in aisle 7. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
got
they're
it.
like, oh God, go.
As we said, you've been acting since you were a kid. One of the things that you were in
Yes.
that I imagine people ask you about all the time because there's such crazy nostalgia
Yeah.
for it, which is Nickelodeon's "Are You Afraid of the
Yeah.
Dark?"
Yes.
Which is wild. Did
so
you hear
funny.
that?
People-
People like know that show. When you did that show, you told me it was like third or fourth season that you started on that show.
Yes, I started about midway through, and
How many seasons did they do?
I don't know total because I didn't do I moved to Los Angeles towards the end of it.
Where was it shot? Like Orlando?
It was shot in Montreal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it
yeah.
might have been shot because Nickelodeon for so long was based in.
Yeah, and
like-
that's sort of how I became like a Nick kid, and then it, kind of went on from there. But that was a really fun show to do. I told you I was going to tell you an interesting tidbit.
Please.
So do you know how we would like sprinkle the magic dust over the fire?
Yeah.
Did you?
Submit this story for the secret society?
Yeah, the Midnight Society.
Midnight Society, yes.
It was carnation instant milk.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that
And
what
it would
made
like
kind of
bum me out so bad. No, that was special effect. By special effect, it was like the guy like that was like, and it hit, crank it up right now, like crank the propane up right now. No, but it would bum me out because I have a weird thing about sticky things on my hand, and it would just like inevitably that day I'd be like, oh god, my story's up, and I'm gonna be
Carnation.
sticky. Like instant milk.
How many stories did you tell?
That's a good question. I don't even know.
Did you have a favorite story that you told?
Well, so this is a thing I don't know if I want to share with you guys, that we weren't there for the filming of those things. So it was kind of a really separate.
Oh, that's true. You'd kind of be like,
Yeah.
this
We were-
story's really great. I submit it. And then you could walk off.
Totally. And I'd be like, does anyone have a handy wipe?
And then the story would come back and you'd be like, what do you think, guys? And they'd be
Yeah.
like, great story. End
They're
of
like,
show.
nailed it. So scary.
That's it. You didn't even really have to read the stories.
No, but we did ultimately get them. But we were there for like wraparounds and stuff like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Did you ever want to be in one of the stories?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you ever ask?
No, I didn't ever ask. I feel like I would be the worst at being in a horror film too, not to like limit my opportunities, but I don't scream well. Like I'm not it's not a good situation.
Things don't scare
It's
you?
not like palatable at all. No, things scare me, but I'm just like when I'm terrified, it's not pretty. And I also have this instinct in me, which I did not realize lately, as I became a mom, where I will like fight back. Like this person in Hollywood the other day was like catcalling me, and I was like, I will kick your butt. And I didn't say it like that, but that was the
You
sentiment.
can say it. What did you say?
I was like, I'll kick your ass
Oh,
if you
good,
talk
good,
to me
good.
like that. It just like really ticked me off. And Nick was like, I would prefer you not go at like some random dude with a pit bull. And I was like, well, maybe he shouldn't talk to me like that.
Your husband was like, try to let it pass. Try to let it go.
No,
You're like,
everybody in my life was
"Absolutely
like, Joe, just like chill out. And I was like, but that's not right. He shouldn't be able to do that. And I do, my husband says, he calls it the Cuban salsa. And I also do this thing where I put my hand up, but when the pinky comes up too, Nick's like, shit.
My fiance does that. We were at a bar one time and there was an Occupy Wall Street protest going on next to us, and two guys standing outside of the bar started screaming, "Get jobs! Go get a job, you losers!" And my fiance turned to them and got in their face,
Yeah.
started cursing them out, and I was standing going, please stop, please stop.
Yeah, like-
there are two of them, they are very big and drunk,
Totally.
and it's just me and you.
Yeah.
She would not, they eventually like just kind of like went inside and
Yeah.
like let it go.
That happened to me in New York with Nick when he was playing. Lived here when he was playing for the Yankees, and I have a really big problem with horse-drawn carriages, and I felt like I just needed to tell.
With horse-drawn carriages?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm not into it at all. By the way, when my husband was going to propose to me, so he had the ring for a while. I was in New Orleans.
Horse-drawn carriage.
Literally, it was like a big thing for us. So he was so scared to propose. So everyone knew he had the ring. I didn't know he had the ring, but he was going to work every day at the field, and they were like, "So did you do it?" And he was like, "No, I like checking out. Like it wasn't a good moment." And I was none the
I did this.
wiser.
I was
You did
him.
this. You were terrified.
Terrified.
Okay, so every day he'd be like, maybe after the game we'll go to like Central Park and
do like a horse-drawn carriage. I was like, do you even know me? It was
Yes.
like, there's no chance I would ever support that industry. And he was like, okay, check, not the night to propose to Joe.
Oh, I feel his pain.
And ultimately, he proposed to me. We were in our PJs on our back porch at our apartment here. And it was like, I love you. And I was like, I love you. And he was like, I love her dogs. And I was like, I love her dogs too. And he was like, will you marry me? And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, is that how it was planned in your head? It was like perfect.
Will you marry me?
He literally was like, I just need to give you this ring. I cannot show my face at the stadium tomorrow if I don't give you this ring.
I feel his pain.
Yeah.
I lived this.
They were literally.
I wasn't a professional baseball player or anything, but like I lived a version of this.
No, but that's like, it's a human thing, I guess. It's a scary moment, I guess. I don't know if any of you guys have ever proposed in the audience, but I'm sure it's a vulnerable experience, regardless of the fact that you have an idea that the person's going to say yes. But
I had the ring in my pocket. This is not about me. I'm really sorry.
No, but I want to hear this.
I had the ring in my pocket. We were in Montreal.
Yeah.
We were on like a little vacation.
Magic.
And so the first night we're in Montreal, I have the ring in my pocket, and I was going to propose the next day, but I just wanted to carry the ring
Yes,
around with me for some reason.
understandable.
And we're in this bar, and she's a fairly sarcastic person,
Yeah.
and like likes to mock things, I think. And we're sitting in this bar, and she looks around, and she goes, "Look at all these boring married people."
And you're
Ugh.
like, oh.
Ugh, I never want to be like that.
It's like, you're like, okay, so
but
this guy's going to stay warm in this pocket.
No, so I at that moment was convinced she knew and
Oh,
was screwing with me. And I was like, come on.
Yeah.
You're totally fucking with me right now.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And she's like, no, what? And then I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this right now. And she goes, do you have a ring on you?
Oh my God.
Why are you telling me that? And I was like, no, I don't have a ring, no. And she's like, why would you let that out?
Totally.
And I was like, oh, God damn it. This
Yeah,
whole
you're
thing
like,
is ruined.
done. I find that most of the proposal stories, like very few go as planned. But that's kind of what makes them so great,
And then I held on to it till the end of the trip, and a rainbow popped out, and I kind of just did it under the rainbow.
By the way,
randomly.
that's genius.
know,
So
it was nice.
was she wanting to be engaged?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, well, we were already domestically partnered
So you were
for
like,
insurance purposes. if
obviously.
anybody wants to know. And yeah, it was coming, and yeah, she wanted to be engaged, and whether or not we want a big wedding or not, that's like a whole other
Irrelevant,
story.
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
God, I
that's,
hope she did, honey. Please.
I'm sure she's very happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, when you're like a little bit of a loose cannon of a lady, like me, and I'm assuming your fiance's just got like a little bit of sass to her. If you have a man that's willing to get his ass kicked for you, like that's a big deal. Like Nick would even if I was wrong, Nick would have taken like a hoof to the chest in that day. But I did shame the man, and he literally was like, "You are not the only person that does this to me. I get this every day." I'm like, "What are you? Are you putting like bug spray? No, what kind of bug spray? Because we have horses, so."
Oh, the horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah, going back to that big moment for Nick.
Talking about the guy that cat called you, and he was like, "You're not the
No,
only
I
one
was
who got
alone in
mad
that
at me
moment.
for
That
this
was
today."
that was a bad idea. I have to protect myself a little bit more. Yeah.
Let's get questions from the audience, preferably questions about the show and not our mutual engagement.
Yeah.
Hi. So thank you for being here. I'm actually a really big fan of Once Upon a Time, so I
Oh,
really loved your
yeah.
role as Ariel.
Thank
I'm
you.
wondering what was it like being on that show, and maybe if you'd come back. If you'd
Yeah.
consider coming back.
Well, it's one of my favorite things to do. I had been asked by Eddie and Adam to do it, and I was like, I'm all in. Little Mermaid. This is my street cred with like all little girls in all the land. I'm gonna be a Disney princess. And then I had my daughter Emmy, and they were like, so season 3 coming up, and I was like, but I'm just given birth like 12 weeks ago. I was so scared to just be in like a freaking seashell bikini, but I was so excited to do it, and I got there, and I was literally like just enveloped with love. I mean, it was the first time I'd ever let anybody watch my baby. The entire crew just swooped in. I mean, there weren't many kids. I think Colin, who plays Hook, was the only one that had a kid or a little tiny baby at the time, and it was just like so. I don't know. I just instantly feel like they're family. They're just good people. And it's fun to just do crazy things. It's just a good group of people. I'm really excited about them revamping and telling new stories, because I just find the idea of creating these fairy tales and somehow weaving them together in such an interesting, unique way was just it's like, what a great idea. And they had these incredible actors. And now, Jen Morrison and Jenny Goodwin and Josh Dallas, like they're like kind of gone now, but like Jenny Goodwin and I had like babies at the same time. We would just sit there in the trailer and be like, oh, how's breastfeeding going? It's like really, they're just very real, good people. And I love going back. So I always will go back when they ask, especially because I'm on ABC. It's easy to do that. So thank you, ABC.
Speaking of great actors, there's a great actor that's in the most recent episode that wasn't in that clip, but is the psychiatrist that you called, and I can't remember his name, but I love
Richard Mazur.
Richard Mazur. He is so great.
Big New York actor, he's coming back. He's great. I can't tell you much about his character because the part that I'm really excited about the show is that we're kind of getting into the mystery of it and figuring out things. And so there's going to be that sort of, these clues are going to add up to something and we're going to start to find out things, which is what I find to be interesting. And like, not only are we telling these stories about, connecting with people and being a good person and all of that kind of stuff, building his spiritual power, we're also...
I love that it's a spiritual show, actually.
Yeah,
That's
it really
one of my
is.
favorite things.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It sort of subtly explores lots of different forms of spirituality.
Absolutely.
Rather than just kind of one form,
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like you can kind of believe in anything or not believe in anything and still somehow connect with the show. So, yeah, it feels good.
Unbeknownst to Richard Mazur, he's a huge part of my life because I watched License to Drive with the Coreys when I was like 6 years old, like every day. I loved that movie. And
so good.
He played the dad.
Yeah, he's great. He's really good. He's a really good actor.
I think Carol Kane played the mom, if I remember correctly. Right? You know that. That's so weird.
Like immediately knew it too. He was like, I know.
Heather Graham is the love interest who's drunk in the back of the car.
Oh,
I think we have one more, or time for another question right here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I was wondering, since you are an actress and are learning about interior design, does that kind of, I know they're different art forms, but is there a similar creative process you have? Or like, do you find inspiration kind of similarly for both of them?
That's such a good question. I don't know that I necessarily connect the two in particular, but I have learned that as I've gotten older, like my space. So for me, when I kind of get into a set and feeling certain things, like my house on the show is like, I've spent a lot of time in different parts of it and kind of wondered about those things. Paul McGuigan, who was our director for the pilot, also he is visually such a genius. And so it was really interesting to work with a director that was obviously as talented as he is, but visually so just aware of how he wanted things to look. And for the first time, I really did kind of feel like I was a part of the whole big puzzle, which was interesting. And he shared a lot of that with me, which I appreciated because I thought, well, it's not often that you totally get the big picture, but he did. And so I realized that it is, like my space is super important to me.
I think we have time for one more.
Okay.
Right here.
Hi.
Hi.
So I heard that you're working with the No Kid Hungry initiative. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about
Yes,
that?
you
I
are. That's a plant to cover my forgetfulness. Thank you.
I am. I'm partnering with Smithfield right now, and they are working to support No Kid Hungry and their efforts to give back 1 million meals to children that are hungry in America. And when I heard the statistic that 1 in 6 kids didn't know where their next meal was going to come from in our country, it literally horrified me. And to be able to partner with a company that has the ability and the resources to support an incredible organization like No Kid Hungry, it was just one of those moments for me where I was like, I got to do it. We've got to do this. And so this fall, will have donated 1 million meals by people supporting their brand and buying their products. And you can actually take a picture of yourself on Instagram and hashtag Breakfast Power, and that will like generate another donation. But so there's ways to do it. But just to be a part of something that is so important, and also it's very preventable. Like we have the ability to fight this. So I just am really, like I said, I'm a little at a loss for words right now because the idea of not, like as a parent, not knowing how I was going to feed my children would have just been a really hard thing. And it's honestly not, it's like right next door to you. It's not somewhere far off in any land. I mean, if you ask any teacher, they could tell you a number of children that come in hungry to school. And No Kid Hungry is, they have an in-school breakfast program, and that's what this sort of initiative is working towards. So Smithfield is helping support that in-school breakfast program. And I got to meet some kids in Georgia last week, and they were so cute. And we did this whole how many pounds do you think the largest pancake is ever made? Does anybody have any guesses?
Someone say 5.
5 pounds?
Someone said 5 over here. I say 20.
It's in the thousands.
Whoa. That bigger than Uncle Buck's pancake?
I know. By the way, I've enjoyed that. 6,000 pounds?
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I'm like full of these little facts.
Did this come from the kids?
No. It was like a quiz, and I also realized that I was not good at testing children because I was like, you are not going to lose. Don't worry. I'm going to tell you all of the answers. I wanted everyone to get that T-shirt and that cute little pig bag. I was like, you're all walking away winners. Oh. Like Oprah, who I met yesterday. I didn't meet her. I was in the same building as her.
But in your head, you imagined that you got to meet her.
We did have a moment, and it was.
But you did have a moment.
It was she.
She brushed past you.
She was like, "You're in my way." No, no.
But you get a car anyway.
Yes, I know. No, she was at Harry Connick, and yesterday was a really big day for me, and I'm sure we don't have much more time, but I also got a special personal message from Donnie Wahlberg. He said hi, and I could be the 6th member of the band, and he specifically addressed me. It was a big deal.
He closed those messages out with oh, yeah. Donnie.
I mean, I blacked out and I started to cry. I swear to God. I'm very emotional about New Kids on the Block and Fred Savage.
Is Donnie your favorite?
Donnie was my dude. Yeah.
Now, did you, after New Kids, with Donnie being your favorite, did that love get passed on to the early incarnation of Mark Wahlberg, otherwise known as Marky Mark?
I do love Marky Mark, and I love Mark Wahlberg. In my mind, they're separate.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're two very different people.
I'd be very pleased to know that.
I'm sure. I was like, I took the bait and I ran with it. I'm a fan of anybody just crushing it. But no, New Kids was just it just imprinted. It was I was a fangirl in that moment. And I did go to their concert this summer with my girlfriends, and we got to meet him, and it was very nice.
But what was the Oprah moment? Before we go, because I know we have to go.
So she was there talking about her book and her delicious soups and all of this stuff, and I literally just listening to her talk is I felt full. I just did. And to talk of this is going to get actually sentimental in a certain way, and I hope I don't cry, but she just lives her truth. And she said something that really resonated with me yesterday. She said that she never did a show where she wasn't able to find the truth in it. So any show that any idea that any producer brought to her, they had to give her the reason that they wanted to have this show, make this show, and that she had to connect to it on a personal level. And I just found that there's no secret as to why people feel connected to her. I mean, you could either be a massive fan of Oprah or just know who she is or whatever it is. She very much lives her truth. She's not afraid to shy away from the fact that she's a massively successful woman and done very well for herself. But she's really talks a lot about, who you are as a person, and no matter how much money you have or how much success you are, that you are that same person. So it just magnifies it. So if you're a really rich jerk, you just always kind of were a jerk. So, which I really believe that. I believe that, that we all are, we all are who we are, and that there is a lot that's inside of you. And her aha moment in describing that is really just a matter of something that you realize something that you've always known. And so that was clearly, you guys, I'm a big fan.
Do you have that an aha moment like that, where you realize that thing about yourself that's always going to be with you? I always realize negative things about myself.
Yeah, no, but I think that's actually important, because I think that is that you're an evolved, conscious human. No one's perfect. So if you're able to sort of say this is somewhat of a shortcoming, even if you don't verbalize it or admit it to people, but if you're able to admit it to yourself, I think there's real power in that. And yeah, I do have that all the time. I mean, I feel really vulnerable being a working mom, and I know that that's not a new concept. There's working moms everywhere. We all have these sort of things.
That's a vulnerability that I think half the population has a hard time understanding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that they want to, but it's men don't understand, as much as they want to be empathetic or sympathetic, just the sort of physical vulnerability that comes with being separated from your child for short or long periods of time, and having to focus on something else.
And certainly for me, I mean, I battled postpartum this last delivery, or this last pregnancy, and after, I was sort of in a blur and never really
and my dad's an OBGYN and very much about, understanding what a woman goes through, and he's seen, thousands of women go through all of this. So he's seen every version of it. So him being able to say, like, I support you, I love you, it's okay if you're feeling a little off, like, these are the kind of things. And I was more than just a little off. I just felt very, like, not grounded on any level. And so it was very vulnerable for me, and, like, learning how to be a mom of two and how you love your first child as opposed to, like, is it different, or your relationship's different? Well, they're different humans. So it's starting to try to forgive myself a little bit for that. And then also, too, that I depend on somebody to help me with taking care of my children, because I am working, but I am doing what I love. And the other day, my daughter, who's 4, who loves to tear at my heartstrings, tear at them, not tug, she was like, don't go to work, Mommy. And I was like, you know what? And a part of me wanted to just, like, hold her and be like, I love you. And I was like, but I love you, and I'm coming home. But Mommy is doing what she loves, and I feel so blessed that I have been given the opportunity to do what I love. But I'll be home. And I felt like that was like a beastly parenting moment. But like 99% of the time on the other level, I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrible. So yeah, I do feel very like those vulnerabilities, and I think realizing those things about yourself and being honest about those things. I mean, gosh, nobody has it all figured out. I mean, I'm a hot mess 90% of the time. But I'm like keeping 2 kids alive, so I feel like I'm winning on some
You're doing
level.
fine if they're alive. Yeah.
Like staying out of jail. Haven't gotten a parking ticket in like 6 months.
I would imagine, and now watch this, with all of those feelings about vulnerability,
Are you bringing
Kevin
it back?
Probably Saves the World is a great show to be on
We're
right
a
now.
good team
You
here.
like this?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think too, it's a very much a story about self-discovery, and in a very, it's got, in a lighthearted way and a heart-wrenching way, but in a very honest way. And so I think that there is a sense of that where it's like we can just all be kind of real. And I do feel like I'm paying attention a little bit more. I mean, we have to this day and age.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for being here.
you.
The show is on ABC. What night is it on?
Tuesday nights, 10 p.m.
Tuesday. That's next
Yeah,
Tuesday. Today's
yeah,
Thursday.
yeah.
So Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for
a
sitting
round of
here.
applause.